I'm going to speak now about something I've been giving some thought to the last few days and has me a little bit ticked off. The place is Portland, Oregon. The headline is Nonprofit Giving Out Meth Pipes in St. John's. Now let me break this down for you. The group is the People's Harm Reduction Alliance. PeoplesHarmReductionAlliance.org. You can see the picture of the happy, shiny people holding hands. Now, there's a lot of people out there in organizations that on the surface level, it's there for the greater good. Oh, they're trying to reduce the number of people getting HIV and even drug addiction. They're saying that this is actually curbing drug addiction. This nonprofit that came from Seattle, and they came into Portland, and their contribution to society is to hand out meth pipes, hand out needles. And in Seattle, they've been handing out crack pipes. They've handed out about 500 meth pipes between January and March of this year, and last year about 500,000 needles. Now, I don't talk about it often, but I did recover from a brief wave, experiencing a little bit of that dark side in the years 2000 and 2001. That was the period in time, actually 1999 all the way up, off and on until 2003 and 4. When I got involved in alternative media, my life changed. Simply said, I found the will to live, and I talked to other people that were addicts, heroin and otherwise, alcoholics as well. You need to have a reason to live, a passion for life, and also to truly understand what it is that causes us to use. Now, fast forward to things that I was saying last year when I was in Portland, talking about the homeless epidemic and talking about the local social services industrial complex. There's more for the drug addict in Portland than for the sober man or woman. Now, a lot of people don't understand this, and a lot of people haven't really internalized what I'm saying. So I'm going to slow it down a notch and make sure you understand. There are far more beds, for example, places to stay, to get off the street. If you are a drug addict, if you go through the Oregon Health Plan, for example, and there's going to be a lot of pressure to get involved with the Oregon Health Plan because it is about the dollars, the federal dollars and the state dollars for these organizations that employ people, that are in a way literally making a living and money off of supposedly helping others and the grants that they receive. So for a lot of these people, there is motive that we need to look at. And there's also some decent drug counselors, by the way, that are out there. There's also a fair amount of sexual predators. Not officially on the books, like, as if they've been charged, but counselors, in some cases, male counselors, that will sleep with their female clients and take advantage of their position. Basically taking advantage of someone when they're weaker. And Portland is a cesspool of not only drug addiction, but all these services, which in reality, folks, for those of you that live in Portland, are there less drugs or more drugs? Are there more tweakers walking around the street acting like they're, extras in a zombie apocalypse film? Are there less? Same thing with alcoholism. Are there more bars or less? There's also a shitload of AA meetings, more there per capita than other places, just like the strip clubs, just like child sex trafficking. They're all kind of interconnected in this web of vice. So what I want people to understand is there are people out there that are not running around with the crack pipe, that are not running around with the meth pipe, that are not on heroin. They don't need clinical help. They could use a job. They can use a hand up. But most of the welfare dollars in this welfare society, and of course they do encourage the homeless that are not on drugs to also apply for welfare. But if you're going to get help right away, Portland is a place where if you're a drug addict and you start through Hooper Detox, you can easily end up with a free bed. Just tell them you want to be put up. You want to be put into inpatient care. So the word gets around, and people over the years have moved to Portland. So it's a cesspool of drug addiction for a reason. Not to mention the old days of Portland, some of the Portland police were involved in drug dealing and knocking off drug dealers and reselling the drugs. Portland has a gangster Wild West history where the real mafia ultimately was the city. They ran vice, they ran prostitution, they ran aspects of drugs. The black areas had their gangster head honcho, if you will. I believe his name was Mr. Johnson. And then on the west side, they had theirs. And a lot of this was being sanctioned by the city. It wasn't being ran by an Italian mafiosa. It was ran by the city. So the city of Portland has kind of a strange way of doing things. And when I see this report, I see those young ladies in that picture for the article coming from the Oregonian talking about the free meth pipe handout. It's like, where is there that type of help, affection, compassion for people that have survived drug addiction, but they're doing something with their life? They're trying to awaken their community as to what's actually going on in the world. What does the world give back to people like that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If you're rocking the boat of the consensus reality, they don't even want you around them. And they will leave good men in the streets to die. But if it's a photo opportunity, you're going to give out the free needles, going to give out the free meth pipes. In another example of insanity, you're going to charge for cuddles. To reference Stephanie Hess of the Cuddle Convention, which I megaphoned last year. This idea of selling love and compassion. I mean, talk about a slap in the face. So Portland is like social engineering 101. There's a lot of strange people that have moved to Portland, and I think there's a lot of counterfeit nonprofits there that are not really there to help people, but they have another agenda. There's another nonprofit that also moved to Portland in the last year, the Cupcake Girls, I believe. They came from Vegas, and their whole thing is any women that are working as prostitutes on the street, just give the Cupcake Girls a call, and they'll do your nails, and they'll do your hair. And I'm not shitting you. The Oregonian also did a report on that. So if you're a working girl, if you're a prostitute, if you sell your sex for money literally on the street, and you need help getting cleaned up in between your johns, in between your jobs, give the Cupcake Girls a call. And I'm reading that, and I'm going, there must be some agenda that they have. So you have all these nonprofits. Oh, we're nonprofit. We're here to help. But they're not helping. And Portland isn't becoming a safer place. You have documentaries like Dopelandia. You have the Needle Exchange program that's been going on for years. You have a great deal of sex offenders, people that have registered themselves as mentally ill so they can get federal dollars and state dollars. And there are even some people that have become disabled in Portland, I'm sure in other places, by being a drug addict. They found a cause for their addiction. They put it down on paper. They have another counselor nod with them. Yeah, just take these drugs. Say you're basically incapacitated because you have social anxiety disorder, which may have triggered your addiction, or bipolar. Yes, that must be it. I mean, some of you just don't realize how big it is. That's why, I'll make this note quick, it's sad to see so many Americans allow this war on off-the-grid living, those of us that aren't on drugs, that have left the urban areas, that have left our jobs, that don't want welfare, and we want to be left alone to build a cabin in peace, in many cases without a septic, just build the cabin, and or live in an RV on our own property. My homelessness of the last year in Colorado has been caused by the fact that I went to a county that's changed their land use codes. But that aside, this video is about the Portland meth pipes and those that give them away for free. And enjoy it. Look at where people put their attention. Look at the reality that people are creating. Look at all the decent men in our society, these nonprofits, and these women that are handing out these pipes like they're goddesses, like they're giving something back and they're being compassionate. Look at all the goodness that's been left in the street to die and been discarded. And it's almost as if they don't know what they're doing. It's almost as if they're under a form of mind control or under a spell. If you look at the woman to the left on the picture, I'm not trying to be offensive to any women, but there's a certain look that the Portland females, especially those in the southeast and downtown, have. And it's like the soul sucked look, where almost the color is, it's not just the lack of sunlight. It's the spiritual parasitic energies that are feeding on them in the Portland area that a lot of them won't admit are there. When people want to believe that Portland is some loving, higher vibrational place, it's anything but. That's a deception. That's an inversion of reality. And so, I see this picture of this girl smiling as someone comes in for a fresh crack pipe, and I'm going to conclude here. What about supporting independent journalists? What about people smiling and coming together when people are writing their stories and speaking out against the injustices and becoming aware of the root causes of why people are actually suffering from addiction? What about upgrading recovery programs? So it's beyond the, cognitive recovery that some of them are offering you, and it's beyond the, I'm powerless AA 12-step version of recovery. Recovery is a very important thing for human beings to experience. In connection with nature, connection with their heart, men and women healing this damage between them. There are some women that are suffering from addiction that have been sexually assaulted. There are some of them that have to go through some healing with regards to what happened to them in order to heal from the addiction itself. And then there's men that may have to go through their own recovery and healing. That's where we need to recenter the conversation. Not just handing out more meth pipes and condoms and crack pipes and all these other things, and who knows what people will be consuming in 10, 20, or 30 years. Some sort of a high-tech little, like something out of Equilibrium, the movie. Independent thought, independent journalism, people that want to live off the grid, people that want to build with their hands, that need, a space in Portland, maybe a website where they can sell their wares. These are things that the men and women of the streets need. They need more than a hand up. They need systems in place that will back them up when they help themselves. When they don't go on the route of welfare and, here, just take a clean crack pipe. At least you're not getting AIDS. And we'll just tell the population that it's curbing drug addiction. What we need to see is compassion rise in the body of man and woman. Alex Answer here, signing off, May 2nd, 2016.